I still remember the exact second my chest tightened, the kind of tightness that doesn't come from fear alone, but from something deeper, something you've been running from for far too long. She was standing right in front of the door. Not aggressively. Not angrily. Just there. Calm. Certain. Unmoving. And somehow, that was worse. The room felt smaller than it was. Or maybe it was just me shrinking inside it. My fingers twitched at my sides, my breath uneven, my thoughts louder than anything she could have said. I avoided her eyes at first, staring somewhere past her shoulder, pretending there was still a way out that didn't involve facing what stood between us. But there wasn't. There never had been. She tilted her head slightly, a soft smile touching her lips, not mocking, not cruel, just knowing. Like she had been waiting for this moment far longer than I had been avoiding it. And maybe she had. I had always been good at running. Not the physical kind, no, I stayed, I showed up, I smiled when I had to. But emotionally? I was miles away before anyone even noticed I had arrived. It was easier that way. Safer. You don't get hurt if you never let anything matter too much. That's what I used to tell myself. That's what I told myself the first time I met her. She wasn't loud. She didn't demand attention. But somehow, she had this quiet gravity about her, like everything in the room subtly shifted toward her presence without realizing it. I noticed her the way you notice a song playing faintly in the background, at first barely there, and then suddenly, it's all you can hear. But I ignored it. Of course I did. Because noticing her meant feeling something. And feeling something meant risking everything. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. And somehow, she became a part of my routine without ever truly being a part of my life. We talked, we laughed, we shared those small, insignificant moments that only become meaningful when you look back at them later. I kept it light. She didn't. Not really. There were moments, small ones, that I tried to dismiss. The way her voice softened when she said my name. The way her eyes lingered just a second longer than necessary. The way silence between us never felt empty, just unfinished. I noticed all of it. I just chose not to respond. Because responding meant stepping forward. And stepping forward meant I couldn't run anymore. So I kept stepping back. And now here I was, quite literally cornered by the one person I had been quietly avoiding for so long. She didn't move. Neither did I. Time stretched in that space between us, heavy and fragile at the same time. My heart was beating louder than my thoughts, and for once, I didn't have a rehearsed escape ready. Because deep down, I knew, this wasn't something I could walk away from again. Not without breaking something. Maybe her. Maybe myself. Or maybe both. She took a small step closer, not enough to invade my space, but enough to make it clear that distance was no longer something she was willing to maintain alone. There was no anger in her eyes, no accusation, just a quiet determination that made it impossible to look away for long. And that's when I realized something that hit harder than anything else in that moment. She wasn't here to confront me. She was here because she cared. And that made everything so much harder. Because it's easy to walk away from anger. It's nearly impossible to walk away from sincerity. I swallowed, my throat dry, my mind racing through every possible excuse, every possible deflection. But they all felt weak now. Empty. Meaningless. Because she wasn't asking for explanations. She was asking for honesty. And honesty was the one thing I had been avoiding the most. Not just with her. But with myself. I had convinced myself that keeping my distance was the right thing to do. That not getting involved would somehow protect both of us. That if I didn't acknowledge what was growing between us, it would simply fade away like everything else eventually does. But it hadn't. If anything, it had grown stronger in the silence. More real in the absence. And now, standing there with nowhere left to go, I couldn't deny it anymore. The truth wasn't something I could outrun. It was something I had been carrying with me the entire time. The problem wasn't that I didn't feel anything. The problem was that I felt too much. And I didn't know what to do with it. Because feeling something that deeply comes with a cost. It means vulnerability. It means risk. It means the possibility of loss. And I had experienced enough loss to know how much it could take from you. So I built walls. Carefully. Quietly. Brick by brick. Until no one could get in. Until nothing could reach me. Until even I couldn't remember what it felt like to let someone matter. But she had found her way through anyway. Not by force. Not by pressure. Just by staying. By being there in ways I didn't even realize I needed. By seeing parts of me I had tried so hard to hide. And instead of turning away, she stayed. That's what scared me the most. Because people don't usually stay. Not for long. Not when things get complicated. Not when things become real. But she did. And now she was standing right in front of me, refusing to let me disappear again. My chest tightened again, but this time it wasn't just fear. It was something else. Something unfamiliar. Something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in a long time. Hope. And hope is dangerous. Because hope makes you believe things can change. That maybe, just maybe, you don't have to keep running forever. That maybe, you can stop. That maybe, someone will be there when you do. I finally looked at her properly. Really looked. And for the first time, I didn't try to hide behind indifference or distraction. I saw her. The quiet strength in her expression. The patience in her eyes. The vulnerability she wasn't trying to mask. And it hit me all at once. She had taken a risk too. Standing there, waiting, hoping. She was just as exposed as I was. Maybe even more. Because she had chosen to step forward. While I had spent all this time stepping back. And suddenly, my fear didn't feel as justified anymore. Because it wasn't just about protecting myself. It was about avoiding the possibility of something real. Something meaningful. Something that could change everything. And maybe that was the real reason I had been running. Not because I was afraid of getting hurt. But because I was afraid of what would happen if I didn't. If this story touched something inside you, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. It helps these stories reach people who might need them the most. There was a long silence between us again, but this time, it felt different. Not heavy. Not suffocating. Just honest. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't trying to escape it. I was standing in it. Feeling it. Accepting it. And slowly, something inside me started to shift. The walls didn't come crashing down all at once. They never do. But a small crack formed. Then another. And through those cracks, something warm began to seep in. Something I had been keeping out for far too long. I took a breath. A real one. And for the first time, it didn't feel like I was suffocating. It felt like I was finally breathing. Not running. Not hiding. Just being. And maybe that was enough for now. Maybe change doesn't happen in grand, dramatic moments. Maybe it starts in quiet ones like this. Where you choose to stay instead of leaving. Where you choose to feel instead of shutting down. Where you choose to trust, even when it's terrifying. I didn't have all the answers. I still don't. But I knew one thing for certain in that moment. I didn't want to run anymore. Not from her. Not from this. Not from myself. So instead of stepping back, I stayed. And sometimes, that's the bravest thing you can do. Before this story ends, I want you to do one thing, leave a comment and tell me, have you ever run from something real, only to realize later it was exactly what you needed? Because maybe, just maybe, you're not the only one.